Apaga el foco. Hey, great. Hold on.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're here in the boardroom, August the 4th, 5:30 p.m. for our regular scheduled board meeting.
No.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we can please stand for a moment of silence.
And we're starting the board meeting. Sorry, it took me a while.
Dr. Gutierrez?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Peña, everyone. If everyone can join me in a moment of silence in memory of the following employees who have passed this past month. Annabelle Orr Covington, Olivia Cira Treviño, María del Rosario Esparza, Griselda M. Treviño, and Doroteo D. Treviño. Please keep their families in your prayers.
Have you noticed? I mean, they ask for prayers for people that have passed, but they don't say that they passed away from COVID-19 or the reason they passed away. It's like a fail of acknowledgement. Let us know what they passed away from. I mean, what's the big deal? Just tell us.
Thank you, everyone, and continue to keep everyone in prayer during this pandemic.
Shut up,
Ms. Tracy,
Minerva.
would you lead us in the pledge?
Hey, Maddie. What the heck is Prissy wearing? My goodness gracious. Yes, we're also the fashion police. Goodness. What the heck is that all about? So is Sylvia with you again? Hey, Jeremiah.
Please continue, Ms. Pat. Roll call. I'd like to acknowledge that everyone is here, all 6 board members, Dr. Gutierrez, and our staff administration. And Pat, thank you all for being here.
6 board members.
Go ahead, Ms. Pat.
Item 5, recommend approving the agenda of the
Oh,
regular
Laura's up
board
there?
meeting of August 4, 2020, with any corrections or deletions.
Do I have a motion?
Hey, Jessica.
Second.
I have the following addendum to the agenda. Item number 11A on personnel items. Item 7, pages 1998A-1998V will be added to agenda backup. That's the only addendum changes to the agenda.
Please vote.
Oh, Sylvia is there. Isn't he? She is
Motion
there.
passes 7-0 unanimous.
Oh, it's so special to have Sylvia leading the board again.
Under Superintendent's Report, Conference Presentation 1, presentation of amendment to local policy regarding annual athletic physicals.
I'd like to call, is Coach Leal here, or who's going to present with this? Or I thought I saw him coming in.
It's the regular board meeting.
Coach Leal on the item under Superintendent's Report, item A1, on the presentation of amendment local policy regarding annual athletic physicals.
Madam President, Dr. Gutierrez, yes, sir. This year, Dr. Charles Brydup, the executive director of the UIL, was given the power from the executive committee for the UIL to amend any of our UIL rules for one
The girl
calendar
in
year.
green is
This one was
actually
included in that.
running for
It's
board.
basically an amendment to allow
The first time she's ever
students
stepped
from
on
accepting the physical that they
property
have
of
on record for
public
this last
education
year for
site.
2019-20 to accept it for this year. What they didn't want is they didn't want hundreds of thousands of high school athletes and junior high athletes to go to their local doctors for physicals because they're actually battling the COVID virus right now. So this is an amendment that's throughout going out
People are fighting the
throughout the
COVID
state.
virus at
We do have
school
local
setting
policy that tells all of our students here in BISD that they need to have a physical every year. This is just an amendment to allow that to happen just for this year.
Do I have any questions?
No. Just do it.
Thank you, sir. And we appreciate you looking out for the athletes.
Shut up, Minerva.
Okay.
Item 2, Employee Handbook for the 2020-2021 school year.
Ms. Carmelita Rodriguez.
Oh, HR department. As of right now, maybe.
Good afternoon, Dr. Gutierrez, Board President Ms. Peña, and members of the board. Every year we present to you all our employee handbook, and this year we have the employee handbook also before you, and there are a few changes, recommendations from TASB, and we also, just to let you know, that we do get input from administrators throughout the district, so if you have any questions, I'm prepared to address them.
In a nutshell, is it possible to list the changes that were?
The changes are listed and you were given those changes. There's some,
Yeah, don't be stupid, Minerva.
like tangerine little orange sheets in the employee handbook, right behind page 33.
Someone explained to that girl in the
small
green
changes,
what's
Ms.
going
Peña,
on.
but yet they are, for example, if you look on page 34, I'll just give you an example. This is just general information. We added suggestions for additions and improvements to the handbook and welcome and are welcome and may be sent to Human Resources Department, page 34. We deleted 43,000, added 42,000. Little things like that. And so major, as far as anything major,
See,
there
this is why the meetings
was a
take all
few
this
changes
time.
that Mr. Dustin
Because people
Garza
like Minerva are
submitted
so
from the
stupid that
insurance
they can't
department.
realize what's going on.
And
Changes are in there. They're marked.
they're there. I mean,
They're
you want me to
there.
go one by one?
No.
I'll be glad to.
I'm just wanted, the changes that were made, it was kind of like the language.
No,
It's
stop
like,
being
yeah,
stupid,
like
Minerva.
Maybe remove what they thought would be redundant.
Right.
You are being
Example,
redundant,
let me
you
just read one real
idiot.
quick, and correct me if I'm wrong. The type of changes that were made, like on the one that
Stop
I'm
being
seeing,
stupid.
it talks about the designees and authorizations.
Who are you going to piggyback off now?
The district authorized and designates the following employee as the ADA Section 504 coordinator for employees for concerns regarding discriminations on the basis of disability.
Right.
The district had employees with questions or concerns about discrimination on the basis of
They're not prepared.
disability should contact the superintendent and Carmelita. All they did was remove the word or the phrase employees with questions.
Right.
All it did is says that the beginning of it
This
says
is how
these
stupid
are the
this
people
woman
who are
is.
designated
Really.
for discrimination concerns. Superintendent.
Words,
and
words,
human
words, words,
resources.
words. She's not saying anything.
Just kind of brought it
Yes.
to shorter language.
Exactly.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the way it was all across
All the way
That's what I
across.
noticed.
And
Oh,
these
you
pages will identify each and
Stupid.
every change, even if it was one word,
Stupid.
just so that you're aware.
There was nothing drastic. It was
Someone
just
give the girl in green,
the language and the
Perrier.
format that was used.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Brown.
Exactly.
Pass the
looked
grape
through
and
it and I
pond.
just saw minor changes, just changes in wording and things like
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Words.
Fine.
Just words.
Thank you.
Minerva
Thank
doesn't
you.
understand
That's what
words.
we all noticed, so thank you so much.
Shut up,
getting
Minerva.
that on our papers.
Thank
Stop
you.
making the meeting longer than it should be.
Any other questions, anyone?
No, shut up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Item 3, reporting of fees paid to purchasing cooperatives, which includes membership management and transaction fees for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Dr. Cantu, if you can address on the board on this item.
Yeah, the whole board is stupid. I don't know
Good
why
afternoon,
Sylvia's there.
President Peña, board members, Dr. Gutierrez. The item that you have before you, this is a requirement by the Texas Education Code. Every year, we need to submit an annual report on the fees that are paid to purchasing cooperatives. And so if you will.
Sylvia
note
took
on
the damn
page
money.
22 of your agenda.
That's all you have to
can see,
report.
The list of the items that we have on cooperatives, beginning with athletic supplies, computers, and goes on to some of the maintenance items. If you look at page
Can Sylvia
223,
please give back
you
the
see
money?
the fees that are paid to each cooperative
Sylvia?
and the amount
Give back the
expended
money.
for the 2019-20 school year. This is a reporting that is needed to be done every year, and so
Oh,
we're bringing
great.
it
Awesome.
to your attention.
Sure, thanks.
your
Okay,
information.
okay, sit down. Thank you. Next item.
Thank you. Do I have any questions?
No!
Thank you very much.
Item 4,
Thank you.
Brownsville Independent School District Financial Report for the period ended July 31, 2020.
Sylvia took the money!
Robledo?
Could you turn on the mic, please?
I had a great speech, but I guess I just said it to myself.
we have here the financial statements for the month of July 2020. It is our brand new one for our new fiscal year.
Oh my Lord.
And again, it shares all the different funds with our general fund, federal programs, our insurance and debt service. So, and then behind that, we do have a breakdown into a further detail.
Do I have any questions?
No.
Thank you. We reviewed it, and at this point in time, we have no questions.
You didn't review
Thank you.
anything, you
Yes,
idiot.
Item 5, quarterly investment report for the period ended June 30, 2020.
This item is also for Mr. Robledo.
With the work of our office, we get to share the good news of always showing how our funds that we have in our investment institutions, whether it's a bank or other areas, of where we have our monies invested with the interest earned for the quarter. So this is the quarter that would be for the past 3 months. And just to kind of give you some numbers, just to kind of put things into perspective. So as of the end of, let me see, at the end of June 30th, 2020, the district has invested $225 million, $144,442.50. And with those funds, the district was able to earn in that quarterly time period $579,614.69.
All for Sylvia.
And so, again, this is just sharing where all of the district funds are invested and what is the interest rate and what is the interest income for that time period.
$500,000 for Sylvia.
Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Thank you so very much. Just keep that interest coming in.
There you go. Thank you so much, ma'am.
The next item is a public comment period. Persons wanting to address the board during public comment shall, before the beginning of the meeting, print their names and the subject matter on the sign-in sheet provided at the entrance of the boardroom. Speakers are allowed a maximum of 3 minutes. Our first speaker is Veronica Borrego, virtual.
Yay. Puro raterío. Let her talk. Let her talk.
She's not talking.
Vendors. No hagas coraje, Geraldito. Calladito, te ves más bonito. Thank you. Here comes them dog, the felon. What did she get up for? Pues para ir a sonarse la nariz. I don't know. You have a $600 million a year corporation that can't bring up a online Zoom comment.
Association of Brownsville Educators, AOBE, the largest and only chartered local in BISD. I am here to continue to advocate and speak for those who fear retaliation. Safety in the workplace should be our priority and is a part of our Texas Education Code. We continue to receive calls reporting high numbers of individuals being required to report physically to work when it is possible for them to work from home and reduce exposure as much as possible. There is inconsistency across the district with respect to this. Along with advocating at the national and state levels, we will continue to speak for our members and advocate for their safety, the safety of our students, and ultimately the safety of our community. We will also continue to request that local doctors be included in any decisions made involving safety at the district, as this is their profession and they are the experts. Many of our employees and people in our community are afraid, and they need to know and feel that the district understands and that they be shown some compassion. They should feel respected and supported as professionals and employees of BISD. Governor Abbott continues to publicly state that the distance learning is up to the local districts. So we ask that you put the safety of all employees first and make decisions to make it possible for distance learning throughout the rest of the year. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Micaela Escobar, virtual.
What happened, Johnny, at Maximus? Now I'm curious. I want to do the same thing, but they won't do nothing about it. You still let people know what's going on, bro.
Good afternoon, President Minerva, Dr. Gutierrez, and members of the board. My name is Micaela Escobar, and I'm the proud Vice President of AOBE and Administrator at Large for the Texas State Teachers Association. I'm here before you to ask you to please evaluate the new compensation plan before you approve it. This plan lacks one important component: equity for all employees.
Yep.
Especially those that have been loyal to the district and to our community. The salary schedules were adjusted to reflect the new minimums. However, employees with tenured 10, 15, 20 years were placed together with those that are new to the district. This will lead to a problem. It may even cause a grievance or a potential lawsuit.
Ingrid's right.
Please, board members, look at the compensation plan and ask questions. Ask for examples. We ask you to please take care of those that have been here the longest. I thank you for your time and be safe.
Our next speaker is Aida Aveldaño, virtual.
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak virtually to everyone. I want, first of all, saw the emergency board meeting and commend you all on that project connectivity. That money and that funding going to the district is really helpful. The $200 million is going to be very beneficial to our students. And so hearing that coming in was music to our ears, because we have collected information from our members and how many employees have had to purchase equipment out of their own pocket because of the equipment that they were given at the end of last year, or having to use their own equipment at the end of last year. So we know that was very unexpected, but we're hoping that we can launch this year a whole lot better and smoothly with the distance learning on the people who are going to be working remotely. Now, with that being said, we have been looking at the plan that has been released from the district, and there is quite a bit of questions that we still have on that, because it's contradicting to some of the memos that have gone out from the superintendent in regards to the essential employees having to report to the workplace. So, for example, just right off the top of my head, we have the nurses that are being told that they all have to report to their campuses, but yet on the plan of action to return the action plan for this coming year, there is 3 to 4 pages of what the nurses would be doing in distance learning. So if there is so many things that can be done virtually or remotely, why are we not giving them the opportunity to work remotely?
Exactly.
We have mentioned it several times before, and we hope you take it into consideration of surveying the employees first. we've asked this several times because several employees have voiced their opinion about wanting to return to the workplace. So if there's employees willing to do that, if we can give those employees the opportunity first to work remotely, then that way the people who have compromised health issues, to please allow them to work remotely. It's been very difficult talking to our members, and maybe you guys don't get the same volume of calls that we get, and listening to the members in tears because they're terrified of what's to come and the possibilities. It's very difficult with that. So we ask that you please reconsider and please clarify who is essential, why do they have to work from the workplace, and to please let the ones who can work remotely, let them work remotely. We need clarification on that. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. And there was some other issues, but I think I've exceeded my time. I couldn't understand what y'all were saying. So have a good day. Thank you.
Because they're rude.
Our next speaker is Celia Sayas.
Good evening, Board President Peña, Dr. Gutierrez, and members of the board. My name is Celia Saiz, and I am the co-chairperson of Bisd Brownsville Educators Stand Together, and AFT, American Federation of Teachers, a union of professionals. As we get ready to start the school year, we would like to thank the board and administration for starting the school year with distance learning. We made this recommendation at the May board meeting, and we recommended it for the entire first semester. We support Mr. Cowan and Mrs. Perez-Reyes' agenda item to extend the distant learning an additional 4 weeks, and then for the board to make the determination on whether our community has gotten the pandemic under control or whether we need to request an additional extension from TEA. We also appreciate the board and administration's recommendation that everyone be allowed to work remotely to the fullest extent possible, and to give the teachers an option on whether to teach from home or from their classroom. All of these were Bisd AFT requests made to you, and we again thank you for listening and understanding our concerns. We are saddened by the loss of so many BSD staff to the virus, and we hope you understand our fear and concern about returning to face-to-face instruction until we get this pandemic under control. So far, to our knowledge, it has only been BISD staff and not any students who have died from COVID-19. We as a district need to continue to work with our community leaders, Judge Trevino, Mayor Mendez, and the County Health Commission in doing what is best for our community, as unfortunately our state leadership has failed us miserably during this crisis.
No, your
We will
board has
continue
failed
to
you
be the
miserably.
best district as long as we put the safety and welfare of our students and all of the employees first. We look forward to continuing and working with both administration and the board in making this a successful and best year for everyone. Thank you and have a best evening.
No, the ones that have failed you are your board members.
Our next speaker is Mary Kay Nieto.
If y'all wouldn't be kissing their butt so much, we probably have a different result.
Good evening, Board President Peña, Dr. Gutierrez, and members of the board. My name is Mary Catherine Nieto, and I am the co-chairperson of Bisd, Brownsville Educators Stand Together, and AFT, American Federation of Teachers.
That's
I'm also a
racist,
librarian
Anna.
for
And
Hannah Early College High
you
School.
should stop
Go
saying
Eagles.
racist comments.
Bisd, AFT, is a union of
dare you.
professionals, and as a union, we work very hard for our members on job security, salary, and benefits. And tonight, we are very pleased that the Board of Trustees and administration has listened to our words and for working with us in these difficult times. We at Bisd AFT have consistently requested a $2,000 raise for certified staff, and tonight, you're approving just that, and we thank you for it.
Oh, thank
The
you.
$2,000 raise, along with the $3,100 raise last year, gives BISD teachers a total of $5,000 plus over the past 2 years, exceeding the state legislature provided in their last session. When you factor in the significant increase in the district's insurance contribution to our insurance premium, The total increase in our benefits is over $7,000.
Wow.
Now, as I'm
They've done a
sure
great job
you
then.
all do, I read a lot of news articles every day. And lately, I've noticed many discussing school employee furloughs in states such as California, Michigan, and others. Last week, you passed a resolution guaranteeing our classified worker salary for the first semester. We educators love what we do, and we are very happy
Yeah.
that our district
All
is
you
not
teachers, be
furloughing any of
grateful
its
that the
employees,
board gave you
but instead
$7,000.
looking for ways to make sure that all employees will have a job to do.
Yeah.
And be an integral part of moving forward and
Just like
serving our
Patrick Hammond
students'
said.
needs during these trying
Y'all be
times.
grateful.
We do regret that you're still moving forward on moving counselors, diagnosticians, nurses, and special education support staff off of the teacher salary schedule. Counselors and nurses are on the state minimum
Be
salary
content
schedule,
with
and
the
there is
crowns
a
we're
reason
throwing
for that.
away.
And we have yet to hear of any
Yeah.
good reason for moving
Best,
them off
we're
of the
happy
teacher
with all the
salary
raises
schedule,
that y'all have given
except that
us.
TASB recommends it.
Thank you for all the
We again
praises.
ask that you provide us with a side-by-side comparison of what their salaries would be, and let your employees make a uniform decision that can be revisited in 4 months when we start the next budget process.
They don't care.
When we step back and look at the total picture of what we've accomplished over the past few months in working together on benefits, salary, and safe working conditions,
Yeah,
we are pleased
they want you to be
with
happy with
most
the
of the
crumbs.
decisions that have been made so far. Best AFT is proud to work together with our school board and administration to achieve what our members seek. We stand for diplomacy, hard work, and seeking common ground. And we believe that patience and keeping an open mind works best for us. Thank you for your time and have the best evening possible.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Patrick Hammis.
Oh, here comes the king of the
Good
Ask
evening,
History.
Board President Peña, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. My name is Patrick Hammis. I'm speaking as a leader with Brownsville Educators Stand Together, BEST, and AFT, American Federation of Teachers, a union of professionals. Tonight, I bring our goals and some concerns for the upcoming school year. Our first goal is to recommend some changes to policy DFFA, local, a reduction in force is due to financial exigency, and a revision to the administrative guidelines for the last in, first out, and specifically criteria for the decision. We are requesting under DFFA that criteria 3, extra duties, be exchanged with criteria 5, seniority. I will be emailing both the board and administration a copy of this. We've been asking for major changes in the policy regarding seniority and non-renewals due to financial exigencies. We respect and appreciate the board's administrative guideline in allowing an employee's seniority in the district to travel with them from one campus to another. Still does not resolve the issue of employees being placed on excess list and campus administrators' ability to manipulate the system. We understand that certifications are the number one issue for the district, but the certifications must be relevant to the campus and grade levels and not just a number. In the past 3 weeks, I have received several messages from our members who have been placed on the campus excess list. I can tell you now that not all of your campuses have followed the district policy or guidelines in placing staff on these excess lists. We've been able to resolve and are attempting to resolve all these issues as I speak, but it does not reduce the unnecessary angst and anxiety to the employees who have been mistakenly placed on these lists. The part of additional duties, including department chairs, needs to be placed on a much lower criteria, as this is used by campus administrators to place friends and provide extra funding over people with equal or more certifications. Department heads, UIL sponsors, and some coaching positions, such as middle school tennis, are appointed by the campus administrator. This brings back the patronage system where cronyism and friendships can and at times are rewarded. Department chairs should either be elected by their peers or rotated through the department so everyone has the opportunity to lead and to receive the compensation that goes with it. I've been telling teachers who have 30 plus years at a campus that others with equal certification, but who have been appointed to additional duties, that they are on the excess list. Is this what we want? Is this what you want? Or is dedication to one's job and loyalty to the campus and district a one-way street? We are also renewing our request for impartial hearing officers for level 1 and level 2 grievances. This was sidetracked during the pandemic, but recently came back to our attention. We were told that an administrator that we had met with to resolve an ongoing grievance and could not come to an agreement with is going to be the upcoming hearing officer. Gee, I wonder what the outcome of that will be.
Gee.
10 seconds, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good people can agree to disagree, but we need to have impartial people to be arbitrators. You don't see umpires or referees hired by the home team to call games to you. We thank you for your time. We thank you for the raises. We thank you for taking your employee safety into consideration.
Thank you for the
We wish you
crumbs.
the best evening possible.
Just
Thank you.
say, Patrick, thank you for the crumbs.
This concludes our public comment period. Our next item is Roman numeral 8, recommend approving the consent agenda.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and give you the number now that my colleagues would like to discuss. So do I have a motion for the approval?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second? Thank you. And the items that are requested to be discussed are on page 2, consent agenda number 1, A1. The next one will be number 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next item, well, will be 22, but did you have something to say on this one?
Yes,
Dr. Gutierrez?
this, I wanted, with permission from the board, to pull out item number 22. We need to give some clarification to this agenda item because based on the resolution that was approved earlier, we need to modify a recommendation for item number 22, and Dr. Cantu will go into detail about clarifying this agenda item for the rest of the board. Item number 22.
Do you want to pull it, Madam Chair, or do you, maybe we wait and we discuss that separately and then we could?
The superintendent is requesting that we pull it. That's his request.
Well, the reason I'm asking Dr. Gutierrez is this. If you take the purchase of the iPads, you may not be able to make them before the September meeting. And it gives you the freedom to do that because I think the authorization is for both.
Yes, and that's why we just wanted to see the motion could be based on the recommendation we're going to make on only the iPads. Correct. Amend it. It's mainly to pull out so we can amend it. Yes.
Motion to include that amendment by the superintendent.
Okay.
That way. And I think.
No, you can't do it that way.
Second. So it'll be amended when we get to that item.
Yeah.
Okay, are you okay with that, Dr. Gutierrez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, continuing on page 6, item 12 at the top of the page. Page 6, number 12. Right on top of the D. Did you see it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And on page 8, we have cast lots 26, 27, 31, 34, and 38 on page 9.
God almighty, they're going to
Yes,
stay forever
on
at this
page
meeting.
8, we're circling cast lots, which are 26, 27, 31, 34, 38.
On page 9.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we continue on page 9, items that are being asked to be discussed are 41 and 44. Does anybody else have any? Did I get everyone? 44? You talking about 44?
41 and 44.
41 and 44?
You said 31, you idiot.
Yeah, let me pull the mask off. It's very difficult to speak with the mask. Pat, would you be kind enough to repeat those? Go ahead, Dr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Ms. Pena. If we just get a clarification on 44, you can allow that. I just think there might be a typo in that item. That's the only reason I noted it.
Yeah,
Towards
whatever
the
Sally
end.
says is right.
Oh, wait, let me get my glasses. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Is that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a typo.
It says, oh, yeah, instead of one.
For 2 additional, 1 year terms? Is that correct? Can you just, Ms. Pena, go ahead and just state that for the record, and I'm fine with it after that.
Okay, at this point in time, Dr. Gutierrez, would you state that you want to change the oye to the word one on item 44 on page 9?
Correct. We'll make that correction on item number 44 and change and correct the spelling on that to one, to the word one, O-N-E. So sorry for the misspelled and.
Yeah. And just one other item, Ms. Peña, it says in parentheses, annual proposal as appropriate. Since that may be 2 additional one-year terms. Well, only because the other ones all are annual bids and this was not an annual one, so.
It does provide a rationale.
Right. Thank you.
So with that done, then we do not circle number 44. You're okay with that? Okay.
Okay.
So Pat, go ahead
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
and repeat them, but remove
Yes.
44.
Page 2, under consent agenda, Roman numeral 10XA 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Page 4, item 22. Under page 6, item 12. Page 8, items 26, 27, 31, and 34. On page 9, 38, and 41.
Thank you. Move to page 2. I
I
think
have Mr. Cowan and.
we already did that earlier.
Yes. Please vote. Dr. Tipton? Motion passes unanimous, 7-0. Under board member requests, item A1, discussion reference making changes to policy concerning role of officers and committee structure and setting up agendas. TASB is currently doing a policy review and can be used to provide information to the board as to how other districts' boards operate in order to build consensus. Board member request, Philip Cowan. Board support, Laura Perez Reyes.
Real quick, before you start, I want to apologize. Earlier I said all 6 board members are here. There's 7 of us here, so I want to extremely apologize that my number count was totally off. So, and my apologies to whoever my brain left out. So, all 7 board members are present. Go ahead, Mr.
I
Cowan.
thought you meant, you and 6. That's the way I read it, but that's okay.
Yeah, whatever it was, I was an error on my part. Go ahead, Mr. Cowan.
This item here, I've been thinking about this, and this actually is the result of something that took place 3.5 years ago. Dr. Atkinson and I were at a conference, and the Corpus Christi board was there, and they were discussing the way they made changes in their organizational structure, the way they picked committees, the way the agenda was put together, and other things. And that's what I think the basic purpose of any kind of a leadership function on the board, the committees, is to build consensus. And I'd like to, and as policy chair, I'm asking the TASB and doing the review to look at our policies and how they work and what we're doing and how we put agendas to the whole thing. And if they can come up with some suggestions, I think this would be a very good thing that we could put in place. Might be able to do it before November, we may not, but it would be, to me, something good. I don't have an answer. I don't have a solution. I'm not sure how to do it.
Yeah, in the
but
middle of
that's
the
what
pandemic,
TASB
let's
is
talk
all
about.
And I want to be able to have it working.
Gosh.
And I didn't want to just go do it and then bring it and spring it on everybody. So I want to bring it up this way and say, look, let's look at this.
Now he's flip-flopping
Because
again.
if there are ways, and the important thing is the board not to divide into camps, setting up the officers on the board, and then the committees are restricted.
Just
and
say
things. I
that
think this
Sylvia did
happened-
that, Philip.
I was on the board in 1986 and it started there. And
Tell
you
them the
know,
truth.
There are ways to create consensus as you build a leadership on the board. The other thing I think is important is like on committees, rotate the committees and have new people come in and have the previous chair train the new chair and things like that. A lot of things we can look at. So we need to look. The primary thing is just to govern better and do better oversight and create consensus among
Just
ourselves.
say that
so we
Minerva
work
has
together
messed
harmoniously.
everything up.
But anyway, no action required. I'm just telling you what my thinking is, and TASB
Why are
is
you
gonna
going to
look at
put,
it.
it's all it is.
And
Why
if they
put
have
an
some
item
solutions,
on there if
they'll
you're
bring
not going to
proposals,
discuss
different ones,
it?
We can look at them.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my
Any other
God.
comments or questions?
I like it. I think it's a good idea. I think some of the things we've done for a million years, and it's not going to hurt to kind of look around and see what other people are doing and see if we can improve the way we're doing things on the board, how we prepare the agenda, how we decide the committees, some of these different things, and see if we can become better, improve ourselves.
Oh, Drew, stop hiring
Yes,
your
thank you,
buddies
Mr.
for
Cohen,
the
because there's always
positions.
room for improvement.
That's
in
what you need to
everything
do better.
Go ahead, Mr.
Roman numeral 10, consent agenda A, general function items 1, recommend approval of the revised teacher salary increases and the 2020-2021 employee compensation plan.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Do I have any questions?
I circled this. I was hoping that we could ask Dr. Gutierrez to kind of go through this and explain what it is that's happening with our teacher compensation. We've already approved the compensation plan at a previous meeting, but at that meeting, I know that Mr. Cowan suggested that maybe we could reevaluate and look again to see if there was a way that we could increase teacher pay.
Dr. Gutierrez?
Um,
Mr. Garcia, go ahead.
Actually, what we approved at the last meeting was the pay increases, and that we were gonna take a look at the pay increases, and the compensation plan was tabled.
No.
No.
You put an imbecile. That's stupid.
Mr. Salazar can add to that. We did approve the plan, right?
Yes, thank
Get little Eddie. He still thinks he's a board member.
When we were setting this agenda item, and I went back and I went to the minutes and I went to the recording and to look back at the actual motion, and it was on 6/25/20. It was a special call board meeting. And if you forward to 2 hours and 24 minutes to the 2 hours and 26 minutes, Mr. Cowan made a motion to approve the compensation plan as recommended by the board, including phase 1 and phase 2. At
They
that
paid
time,
you,
Mr.
little
Cowan
Eddie.
also directed administration that if there was funds that were available, that we could amend the compensation plan. So the compensation plan for this year has already been approved.
They paid you,
The only
little
thing
Eddie.
that this would be really basically a line item that says we're going to increase the funding from 16 something to the 2,000, which I believe you had recommended.
They paid you again.
Yes, and we know that it was approved because at that time we discussed the fact that we needed to approve it for this new school year, and we have actually paid our classified employees based on the compensation plan that was approved that night. We couldn't have done so if we hadn't approved it, and we've already paid them, and it moves on. It was approved.
And with that said, and I guess what the bottom line of this is, when we approve the compensation plan, that we could get paid, there are some questions and some positions that were
She's trying to fix it and
census
it's
scale
making
or
it
lower
sound
to
worse.
official before. And the way that the Tasby completely just changed the whole thing. And we did speak to you, Dr. Gutierrez, and I know that you have voiced that you're going to look at it to see how we can correct the errors.
Little Eddie.
Somehow reduce.
They paid you, bro.
That was not the
He had the hour
I remember
and the
second
second where it was because he knew you were going to say that.
We're going to go in and look at all those, and as the errors or the
they paid little Eddie.
Your team and you will correct it because the objective is to make it work and not to make it look like some people got a demotion in their position. So are we still working with that?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Peña, and board members, and they're all good questions, and you know, there's been a journey through this compensation plan and the work that has been done with TASB and having workshops with the board. We had several workshops on this, and but we're at a point now that the plan went through, and one of the things that came at the last meeting back in June, I believe, is when we had this discussion with the compensation plan, was on the amendment, looking at the amending of the teacher pay, which we are amending the teacher pay from 1,680 to, I believe Mr. Garcia brought up that item about considering bringing it up to 2,000. We've been able to work with the business office to bring it up to where teachers are going to be, instead of getting the 1,680, we're going to add on the 320, which will be at 2,000 for the teachers in their in their plan. So that's an amendment to the compensation plan on the teacher pay. And so, that's something that I think the board listened to the groups and the teachers and out there asking for if it was possible to go up to 2,000. We were able to accomplish that. We're bringing it to you for approval and consideration. And now it's now that we're going to be looking at the plan, and I discussed this with the HR department, with Carmelita, is that if we have anybody out there that wants to review it, we can do that on an individual basis, or whoever wants to go and review this plan and be able to see where they are and how the study was done and take on those issues on an individual basis. We will never finish unless we move on, but now we deal with those cases on an individual basis through the HR department, and they're prepared. And if there's any corrections that need to be made, because maybe TASB had an oversight on some, or we want to consider a change, then we'll bring it to the board and do those amendments as we move on. Just like we're doing an amendment today for the teacher pay from $1,680 to $2,000. So that's what on this item. That's where we are.
Ms. Khan?
I think that this board should be commended. I mean, this is amazing news. In the last 2 years,
The board should be
this
commended.
board made a commitment to try to improve teacher salaries. And so in the last 2 years, we've raised salaries $5,000. Now, we're all going to admit that the salaries for our teachers are not where they need to be, and we're
Shut
all
up,
conscious
Drew.
of that. But I'm fully certain that in the next 2 years, we will get there. Last year, it was $3,000. This year, it was $2,000. I don't recall amounts like that before.
Shut up, Drew.
Again, our teachers are not at the level we'd like, and I think this entire board's committed to trying to do better next year and the next year.
This
In
board won't be
addition,
there next year or the next year, you
It
idiot.
wasn't too long ago that our classified employees were making $7.50 an hour. That went to
Oh,
the
this board
lowest
is doing
salary.
such a good
Then it went
job.
to $8.50. This year,
Messy.
it's gone up to $11.10 is our lowest pay, and we're still improving. And I think this board is also committed to trying to increase that to
Committed robbery.
$12 or $13 an hour in the near future. And I think this is really good news for our employees. We were able to do something for administrators last year. So overall in the last 2 years, some significant
No.
increases have
No.
occurred in our employee compensation. And I don't want that to get lost in any other discussions. This is an amazing thing, and it shows that this board's very committed. This administration
Oh,
is
this
very
board's doing a great
committed to
job.
its employees, and we well recognize all the efforts that are being made by our employees all the time before the pandemic, and now even more so during these trying times.
Thank you. And also, and we have done a lot and we work really hard. And I remember speaking with you because
You were really hard.
my
How?
objective was to find out why certain people that were in pay grade 4 and the coordinators, same amount of days, same responsibility, some of them will move to pay grade 5, where others were left behind. So it's very difficult because you have a job, because all jobs are essential. And everyone's position as a coordinator is very important.
No,
The
just
question
the
we're being asked, and I don't
superintendent's
have
job
an
is
answer.
essential.
Why did some coordinators get moved up to a 5 and the others stayed at a 4 when the job responsibility is just as great for both of them? And I said, maybe that was an oversight because TASB was given information and they do what they see, but that doesn't mean they're perfect. All they do is make recommendations. It's up to the district to look at it and find out, okay, well, this doesn't make too much sense because why did we move these up, but we didn't move the others up? And they work just as hard. And that's the question. That's what I remember you telling me. That's something that needs to be brought to your attention, and you'll correct it as we go along. Am I correct to say you are allowed to do that if that need be?
If we're going to make any amendments to the compensation plan, it's something that I will need to bring to the board for approval, because it may be that it's something that it requires the board approval, but obviously we look at.
No, they're not going to get a 2,000 raise, a $320 raise.
To be able to be as fair as we can be. One of the things that we initiated this plan is number one is to be fair with every employee. And that's what we've been trying to do all along, is try to be fair
No.
with every single employee. where
Not
no
true.
employee, even though it was a complete new compensation plan than what we used to have, this is a different plan. It's a TASB plan
He's
that's
lying.
been recommended. It's been also that no employee was to lose any money. That everybody was going to either stay as far as their salaries were going to stay the same or benefit from their salaries. And then we did the market study to see that to be as fair as we could be with every employee to be where they needed to be. I think we accomplished a lot by taking care of all our hourly wage employees, our classified employees, to bring them up
Yes,
to where
Ingrid.
they needed to be because they were below. And then also the teachers' pay was also something that was a concern to all of us to bring up our teacher pay. And if we are going to add now those 320 more, which is going to bring them up to 2,000, it's putting us in the right direction. But this is work in progress. The compensation plan is work in progress, and I'm sure you'll see that we're not going to be able to solve everyone's concerns, perhaps during the year. But then the budget planning comes back in the spring, and that's when we can also continue to make adjustments. It's been several years of this that we're trying to correct or fix and get better. And we can't do it overnight, but we're already headed in the right direction. We've already done leaps and bounds in terms of the compensation plan and the pay of a lot of employees. We brought them along quite a bit with this plan.
You got a
with
good
this
raise.
budget proposal. So we're headed in the right direction, but it's work in progress, and it's not going to be done overnight because it's been several years that we're kind of like catching up with. But trust me, and when I say that we are headed in the right direction and we are making a lot of gains, we already made a lot of gains.
Anybody
just with
wanna
this
trust
budget
him?
and with this plan, and we'll continue to do that. And the main thing is to be fair to all employees and not treat anyone unfairly. That's been our number one thing.
Mr. Garcia, and then Mr. Cohen.
And yes, I agree with that we're not going to solve everyone's concerns. But something that we definitely need to do is we need to make aware our employees
Make
as
aware
to how
of our
this plan
employees.
is working. Apparently, something is being dropped that employees are still concerned on how they're being set in whatever pay grade they're being placed, how they're being compensated, and also how are they going to move from the midpoint to the maximum point. Those are a lot of questions that they have. And this is not about losing, as to where we stand with our teachers. This is a TASB report. My thing is this is a recommendation. We should make this recommendation work for our needs. Looking at the TASB report,
What does it
the
say?
median point for teachers was 50,000. Ours is at 45,000, and that's without any pay increase. Adding $2,000 to the teachers, we're still way below the midpoint. And now that teachers in other school districts are getting raises, we are not really making any headway. So my recommendation is hopefully at the middle of the year, we will go back and take a look at this. And maybe we can bring up our teachers as well as our classified as well. Again, yes, we are making a move, but I think there's still a lot more that can be done for them.
Oh, shut up.
Mr. Cohen.
Yeah. I want to commend the administration on finding the money.
Oh,
I know
great
Ms.
job,
Brown was able to help point out
Superintendent.
a couple of things over there, and they went and looked at some stuff. I know that they were looking at it as well, but her guesses were as good as yours, and I commend her for noting that. We lost 13 million in funding with the compression that we actually did, and in doing that, we're still giving teachers 2,000. And one of the things about this $2,000 increase in salaries for teachers, this is something that's not going to go away. This is going to be part of their salary from now on, and then they're going to grow on that. So it's a step in the right direction, moving there. Some of the things, and taking on Mr. Garcia's and Ms. Peña's concerns, people, I think their biggest worry is they're going to get stuck where they can't make more money. They're kind of stuck in midpoint, and the midpoint just not going to climb up or just moves up very incrementally, and they can't move. Whereas if they, because of the level position they were in, and people aren't complaining about the pay they're getting, they're just complaining about the fact that maybe in the future they can't get the raises they might have expected if they had remained with the old schedule. And that's something it's going to take a lot of training and educating our employees so that they
Exactly.
understand how to work within the
Erica
system.
is
And, I
right.
mean, that's what you get paid for.
They're
So divide
patting
the work
themselves
by
in
how
the
we get
back
paid.
for giving us
But
3,000
anyway,
raise
thank
last
you.
year, but that one
Anyway,
came from the state.
The thing is, sir, what we want to be very conscientious of is the fact that we have some level 4 supervisors, especially that we moved up to 5 and 6, which is fine. But we have others that were left behind. And because they were left behind, they're going to be frozen because they don't have any opportunity to move up for the minimum and the midpoint. But the people who were in that same pay grade, those positions that were put on the level 5 and level 6, their minimum and mid, they go up. They'll have an opportunity to have a pay rate. See, the way it's written down and the way they handed it to people, and you read it, it scares the bejeebie out of some people because they're saying, you're frozen. Well, your counterpart who was doing a job equal to you about the same pay, those positions got moved up, but yours got moved down or left behind, which unintentionally gives the impression that those positions didn't have as much value as the others that they moved up. And I know that was not the intent.
I promise.
That's why I'm asking people to please come, ask them, look at it. And this is how I look at things. If it was me on that side, how would it affect me? How would it
Monica's
affect
right.
my livelihood? How would it affect me as a person? That's how I look at it. Because my objective is to do what's right.
No,
I don't
it's
have to
not.
like you. I don't have to think about you. I have to do what's right for your position and take care of you. Because somebody, thank God, has always taken care of us. So I just want that opportunity
Yeah,
to
Sylvia.
get that to those people. Mr. Garcia. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Garcia, do you mind? I apologize, ma'am. Go ahead.
That's okay, thank you. Just real briefly, and I want to definitely thank Dr. Gutierrez, Dr. Cantu, and
There's the head
Dr.
of snake.
Trevino, all the HR finance people for the job that they've been trying to do to get this together. I think one of the things that I had mentioned to Dr. Gutierrez a couple months ago was the possibility of having to do phase-ins because so much unknown is still unknown. And as they piecemeal information to us from the state, we're scrambling. And
That was
hats off to
Sylvia's
you guys because you got
vendor.
your tennis shoes on and rollerblades on. So thank you very much for that. That being said, I think Ms. Brown's comment about 5,000 over the last 2-year period is, and I came from BISD as an employee as well. And one of the things that we've seen is we saw $800 increments or just a step or just $900, $1,000 for so many years. So to see a $3,100 then a $2,000, hats off to you guys. Please keep it going. I think one of the things that might help alleviate some concerns, and I think Mr. Garcia's concerns are very well taken, is if we could start looking at projecting. We used to be able to project 2 years in terms of salary increases, 2 years of steps, 2 years, in advance, to give people an idea where we're headed, because we're never going to get back to the top. And we used to be at the top of Region 1, and then we fell back. And for us, the base salary.
Well, you
for
stole
our
the money!
counts for everybody, our librarians, it's very important that their base salary be solid. And so that brings me to the question, because
You
this
stole
is
the
recommended
money.
approval for the revised teacher salary increases, but did we not include librarians in that as well? Or is it only teachers? Okay, so should we say teachers and librarians increases on this one? Okay, okay, because I know that now that counselors and nurses right now are being looked at a different level, that, just want to make sure that we try to be as specific as possible. And that brings me to the counselors and nurses. I know that you all said you'd been looking at the possibility of being able to keep them at a level where they would still see an increase for this year. So is that still the case? Or are they staying the same?
Not the counselors, right, Dr. Trevino? It can stay the same for them?
Okay, let me go to this last question on dealing with this item. I know that we deal with our coaches, whether athletics or there are our fine arts coaches, our after-school teachers. So at this point, we don't really have after-school programs, if I'm not mistaken, the way that I look at it. We really don't have that being rolled out for the fall. So that normally could be $3 to $5 million easy in per level. So if we're looking at that much money at this point, is there a possibility? And I think maybe Mr. Salinas or Mr. Salazar could look at that as well. Several districts are looking at mid season stipends or adjustments, and they have to make that commitment before school starts, provided there's funding.
It's crazy.
So if there's funding, they're more like longevity stipends, and they do a professional development day and they get paid for the day. And it's not like $25 an hour, it's $500 if you go for that day. And I know several districts up the valley were doing it. It was done several years ago also. We did it ourselves, and we actually paid them $1,000 in order to do these sessions. And so it might be something to look at if there's monies available, because for us to
There's
get
no
back
money
to the
available.
top and to keep the momentum going,
You took it all.
we're asking so much of the teachers and our staff, classified staff as well. If there's a possibility to do something, let's please look at trying to do that. And again, within the purview of what's allowed by the statute in the state. And I know those stipends are allowed. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes, and again, thank you to the administration for all the work that they've done, but I think we're still falling behind. We need to really take a look at it and move forward. I'm all for the races. As far as the
horse races
remainder, the way the compensation plan
races
is set forth, I agree with Ms. Peña. Again, a lot of these things are unknown, and in part of it could be that the employees are not being informed correctly. So we need to make sure that we address this and pass the word out there.
Well, you don't even know that the compensation plan was voted on last time.
I hadn't intended to say anything else, but I think I will. For years, I sat out in the audience as an employee, and Dr. Atkinson's right. I watched board after board after board pass out minimal amounts to the teachers, a step increase or something like that. And this is the most significant raises that I've seen in a very long time. And I'm just new to the board. The last 2 years we've done all this. But this has been going on for years, that we've allowed our teachers to fall behind, not the last board or the last board or the last board. And I think there's only one person on the board that's been there that long, but this has consistently fallen behind for years. And there's a lot of, Mr. Garcia's right. We've got a lot of catching up to do. It's embarrassing that we've allowed ourselves to fall back like this. But I am pleased at the effort that's been made the last 2 years, and I think we need to keep this discussion at the forefront. I'm not a big fan of stipends or anything like that. I want concrete. I'm not going to vote for things like that. I'm not going to vote for stipends and things anymore. I'm going to vote for salary increases.
Shut up, Drew.
Not
stop hiring your buddies.
Not technology
that are putting money in Sylvia's pocket.
Like I want to vote for actual salaries for our employees that reoccur year after year after year, and we build ourselves up and get our teachers and our classified personnel to a point where they make a good wage. And I'm pleased that the progress we've made the last 2 years, this didn't happen under our watch or most of our watch. But it has happened, and we need to build that back up and never let it happen again.
Shut up, Drew. You'll be gone. Long
Anybody
gone.
else? Laura? Mr. Reyes?
Thank you, Ms. Peña. I also just want to commend administration.
Great
for
job,
being
administration.
able to find additional money to bring the salaries up
was
to
in Sylvia's pocket.
1680. I think that the last time we met, I think that the whole board would have wanted to be able to support even more than 2,000. But I think that most of us were worried about having to tap into the fund balance for a recurring expenditure, if you will. And so I just commend this board, because sometimes I know it's difficult. We want to give more, and some of us have to be also fiscally responsible to ensure that this district is not a sinking ship financially. And so I appreciate that we were able to identify money that can be applied to these races so that we're able to meet the 2,000. Definitely supportive of continuing search for more money, and if we can continue to do better, I think that it's something that we all want to do. It's not just, Mr. Garcia, it's not just Ms. Peña, it's something that the whole board wants to do. And I know that in November, there'll be potentially a new board, and it's going to be something that the board should always want to do. I do want to praise Dr. Gutierrez, because in the short year, and his team, because in the short year that they've been here, they've been able to not just meet our needs, but to help us get to the top and continue to do better by our employees, classified, certified employees. So I'm especially grateful for that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Atkinson?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify something on stipends, to know that currently, or this time last year, teachers, counselors, our coaches all depended on certain stipends. Right now, at the way that it looks, they're not available because we're not going to have that in person. So if there's an opportunity to redirect some of those stipend monies to the staff so they don't see such a decrease in that extra monies that they sometimes really depend on, then maybe that's something can be looked at. That was the reason for the stipends. I'm all for base pay, but if we're looking at stipends last year being available, this year they're not, or they're not really going to be accessible, not that they're not available, then maybe there's something that can be done. Thank you.
And if I may on that, so I guess the objective is, and just to clarify for the public, the stipends are given if they're coaching. Once you get out of coaching, well, you don't get that stipend, am I correct? So the stipends are because of the extra responsibility that you take on, because it's very necessary that.
Oh, I mean, that's so stupid.
Students have coaches.
You've been there 12 years and you don't know, you idiot.
Is that correct?
That's correct. There's
Idiot.
coaches stipends and supplement pay because they work with the kids after hours. Now there is
you don't know
a
that?
possibility. I mean, that they may UIL is looking at a possibility of bringing back some of the sports later, like sometime early October. There's been a lot of discussion about that. I know that the 4A school districts and below that have already started season workouts. They started August the 3rd. They started this week. And the 6A and the 5A will start the latter part of September, early October. So there may be a possibility of that happening. UIL has that calendar set, but we'll see what happens with
an idiot.
The coronavirus and how the situation is in our area, whether we're going to have it or not. But there are plans by UIL to bring back organized sports.
Ms. Lara?
Thank you, Ms. Peña. I thought we discussed the possibility of being able to, especially for the coaching stipends. If I recall correctly, I thought we had not agreed, but I thought we discussed the possibility of continuing to have the stipends if services can continue to be rendered via, even if it's distance training, as long as coaches can keep students engaged in their program, physical activity via Zoom, via whichever app they.
That's correct. We had those discussions about continuously giving our coaches that stipend because they could do things virtually or be able to help at the campuses, and then preparing for the possibility of bringing back organized sports the latter part of September, early October. As a possibility.
And for that reason, we'll always have the stipends because you always have the need of that extra work that you're asking your employees to do. And the day a coach decides, I don't want to coach anymore, I'm just going to go teach English. Then somebody else steps in and they get that stipend. So stipends are going to be around a long time. They need to be because students need coaches. And it's very difficult to ask a coach to take his time away from his family the whole year because a coaching job is a 24/7 job almost. So I appreciate that you give them that extra pay. But of course, once they step away from that duty and someone else steps in, they collect that stipend. Am I correct?
That's correct. And, our fine arts program and our athletic program, they need to stay alive. Even though we're going through some difficult times and our kids are not showing up the first few weeks of school because we're going to go distance learning, we need to keep our athletic programs and our fine arts programs alive and well as much as possible and keep our coaches and our fine arts instructors, they're going to be busy with our kids in some shape or form, virtually or phone calls, visits. They are going to stay engaged with the kids. And I said it earlier that some time ago that our coaches and our fine arts are very instrumental in keeping our kids engaged in our schools because now that they're in distance learning, we need them more than ever to be engaged with us. And this is where our coaches and our fine arts staff can really step in and help us with that engagement that we want of our students from home to the school.
Mr. Garcia and then Mr. Carr. I'm sorry, sir, Mr. Garcia, and then you. Mr. Garcia. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the recommendation is that we continue with the stipends. Is that correct, Dr. Gutierrez?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's critical that we do. I think our kids and our coaches and our fine arts need to be connected. I strongly believe that we cannot allow that to take a pause. We need to continue as if it was
Exactly, Angelina.
normal as possible, and keep the kids and the coaches and fine arts engaged.
The only ones that are getting
Do we need
big
to make a
raises.
motion on that, or?
No, little Eddie, stop being a dumber.
I just want to virtually connect it, correct?
Oh, little Eddie.
We
didn't make up all of that.
is virtually doing exercise for adults on TV. Did you notice that? So I see that as a great thing.
Yeah, and I have, I'm not worried at all. The coaches are going to be busy, with virtual. It takes a little while to get it done. But Dr. Gutierrez, I would ask you just to keep us informed as to what's going on, because I think that's important.
Yes, sir.
A lot of parents ask us questions, things like that, and, I hate to, have no answer.
Absolutely.
And if I may,
Yes, Ms. Lara.
just to follow up, this isn't just we're not just talking about coaches, we're talking about UIL activities in general, right?
Everything
Because
across the
there's,
board.
okay,
Everything. Yes, ma'am.
thank you.
Idiot.
Miss Peña.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. Tipton.
Just going back and, I also want to commend administration for this
Great job,
long
administration.
budget process. I think we had over
Sit down,
7
Laura.
budget workshop meetings over 4 hours long. And by all means, it is not my intent to go back and place any cloud or shadow, to any former administration or board by all means. But I do want to go back and respond to Mr. Garcia that I definitely agree with you. We have a lot of work to do, and I think Ms. Brown had mentioned that. When we started working here on this budget, I did see that over the past 5 years, between 2014 and 2019, not counting these last 2 years, the salary increases across 5 years, beginning from 2014, was $4,618 over 5 years. You stopped it? Is it still? Yes, okay. So I do commend the administration that I think that it was our target was 50,000, I recall. And I think we had the 5% reduction. So we had to take 47,000, which was, the 2,000. So I commend administration for bringing this, for everyone that worked very hard, many long hours.
Commend administration.
And there's
Commend
one more
administration.
item that I also want to touch on, because I think that we need to celebrate some successes and especially reward, our employees and Dr. Gutierrez, our superintendent. But I also want to point out the bus drivers. They have been very advocate for all the hourly employees across the school district. And I do want to add that in 2014, I was sitting in my living room, and there was a story by Channel 4, Valley Central.
Who cares?
And I quote, they were getting a 36-cent raise, and that was going to bring them up to $9.36. And I quote, the driver said, that is a 36 cents in over 5 years. So they had not received a raise in 5 years. And when they did get a raise, it was just 36 cents. So these past 2 years, I want to commend this administration and this board, because again,
Another commend.
that's a reflective of all the percentage of increase across all the hourly and classified employees.
Commend.
And right now, from $9.36 over the past 2 years, they're up to $13, close to a $4 increase within these last 2 years. And their salary is reflective of across all classified, if I'm not mistaken, that, everyone got a $3 to $4 increase. So I commend this board, and I'm very happy for this work that we did. And
We
that
did a great job.
That they were forgotten for over 10 years.
Goodness
our hourly
gracious.
and classified.
Shut up, Prissy.
And over the last 2 years, I think that I'm very,
Shut
very
up,
happy with administration
Moby
and this board and our
Shut up,
superintendent
White
for
Whale.
just within a year and
Shut
a half
up.
period, bringing them up to par. So thank you, sir.
Aye, Moby Dick.
Thank you. No one else?
Moby Dick was speaking.
Please vote. And thank you so much for this administration. for taking care of all of our employees. I really appreciate that.
Shut up, Minerva.
Mr. Garcia?
I forgot how to vote. Imbecile.
7-0 unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Who's applauding?
Item 3, recommend the approval of the
Applauding for
synchronous
crumbs?
attestation required by the Texas Education Agency.
Yeah. Patrick Hammond's applauding. Yay! They gave us alms for the poor.
Not a problem. I'll wait. Go ahead and try and put it like that.
Stupid Patrick Hammonds.
Uh,
Yay! Alms for the poor. Thank you,
Hold on,
Master, for
there's
giving me
something in between the
alms. Thank you,
synchronous
sir.
Okay,
Bessie.
that's number,
Did he see Moby Dick?
yes. Dr. Trevino,
Look
Dr.
at the
Garcia,
white
can
whale.
you just give the board a brief on this item? We are recommending it, but as we're getting information from TEA, we are adjusting. And this
75%.
item, we'll explain it, but also we'll give you what the advice that we're getting from TEA on what we need to do with Synchronous, which is, for those that are
I'm
watching us,
trying.
is distance learning live versus asynchronous, which is more
Patrick
their
Hammond's.
own kids working.
Yay! They
based
gave
on
us what they
teacher
should
and
have given
student
us
working on their
10
own
years
time.
ago.
So
Yay!
can you just give us a brief on this recommendation and the latest that we know about asynchronous as well?
Can we get a motion
The
on it,
white
sir?
rhino.
Motion to approve.
May I get a
just have
second?
question.
I'll second it.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. Ms. Peña, can I?
Yes, please address Dr. Gutierrez.
Dr. Gutierrez, my only question here was if this was the final attestation, because I know that once because the backup says that we need to submit our final. Is this just a recommendation for now?
Well, we need to submit, but before we do that, let's explain to you. We're recommending it, but then we may not proceed with sending it to TA simply because of what we're learning about asynchronous, which may be the better option for us to go. But I'll have them explain to the board briefly what this is all about.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez, Ms. Peña, members of the board. Hopefully this is the last attestation, but like Dr. Gutierrez said, it's not something that at this point we're ready to submit to TA. We want to kind of have it in the back burner. Because with the synchronous instruction, we need to document that the students are in attendance behind a computer. For example, 180 minutes a day or 240. And so we really can't secure that and assume that a student, in order for us to get ADA, would be behind a computer for that amount of time. If we go with an asynchronous does not need board approval, it needs TEA approval. We have submitted that. So the difference with that is if the teacher is able to secure contact with a student on a daily basis, whether it's a student submitting an assignment electronically, a phone call, or through synchronous instruction through our Google Classroom or our learning management platform, we can certify and get ADA for them because we can certify attendance. So this one does need board approval, but the asynchronous does not. It needs TA approval.
Ms. Peña?
Go ahead, Ms. Tipton.
My concern is if we do approve this synchronous, right? And I know that asynchronous does not require board approval. Does that go back to campus-based decisions?
No, the board already, I guess at the last board meeting, if you all would recall, we shared a schedule of how the teachers would be monitoring students. And so that's going to continue. This is really just for ADA purposes on how we're going to document and submit through PEIMS, whether they're present synchronous or present asynchronous. But if we go with synchronous, then we have to certify 240 minutes on a daily basis for a secondary student and 1,800 or 180 for the elementary, third through.
And I have one more question. So my question is, we will timestamp this for today as approved for synchronous?
Yes, but not necessarily submit to TA. In discussing with the superintendent and Dr. Salcedo, we just felt that this was the best route to take, have it in the event that we need to, but we're going to go asynchronous.
Dr. Gutierrez, you think you can bring it back to the board whenever you make that decision?
Which is the synchronous?
Yes.
Well,
How about just letting us know? You can
Letting
just
us know.
email us. Am I right?
Yes, because if you approve it, we just want to have it as board approved in case we need to proceed and turn it into TEA, the synchronous, because synchronous requires board approval. However, because we've learned that through asynchronous, we don't need to maintain minutes. As long as there's contact, we can count the kids for ADA. So it's in our best interest to go asynchronous 100%. Since we don't have to maintain minutes, we just have to maintain contact with the student. If I'm saying it correctly?
Yes, although we don't want to minimize the fact that we want teachers to make daily contact with students.
Correct.
Right, but for ADA purposes, if a student is at least able to submit something and we weren't able to make contact, we'd still be able to receive ADA.
And for the purpose of the public, can you define synchronous and asynchronous? Because I know we all know what it is, but the public doesn't. So could you just, for the
You want your clarification, you
define
stupid
synchronous
idiot.
versus asynchronous?
Yes, ma'am. Synchronous instruction is when it's going to be live virtually. So it's like right now, if you're watching us through their, for device, then this is called synchronous. The teacher would be teaching and the students would be at the same time listening to the content that's being delivered. Asynchronous is like on demand. So you record something, and whenever the student has an opportunity to get online, then they can retrieve that lesson that the teacher recorded, but they won't be able to interact with the teacher live. They can possibly send an email, any questions to the teacher, but it won't be live. Synchronous is live. I have a question, the student can raise the hand, and the teacher can respond. Asynchronous is a recording, and the student would be able to, at any time during the day, go and view the video and the lesson and submit assignments. So those are the differences.
In essence, your night owl who's up all night and asleep all day, because it's happening right now because you're at home. You will turn around, and when that night owl is awake all night, he can do his work and do his schooling in the middle of the night, in the dawn hours, and then he goes to sleep at 8 o'clock in the morning. He sleeps all day. That asynchronous allows him to be able to do that. Some people are night owls and some people are early risers.
Shut up.
This way we get the best of both worlds for all our students. Am I correct?
Yes, the students have flexibility and the parents as well.
Thank you, Miss Dr. Saceda.
I just wanted to
Another
add to Dr.
question.
Trevino's statement. I'm sorry, Mr. Cowan. Go ahead.
Real quick, while you were talking, I am concerned about one thing. If we did total asynchronous, and there's a restaurant I go to with this mom and daughter that run it, wonderful people, and the daughter has 2 children. The girl is older, and you tell her do this, and she'll do it, and she'll go get a PhD on her own. She can't get the boy to do anything, and so she doesn't want asynchronous. She wants somebody sitting over there pushing the young boy and go. And so I just don't want to create a system where, you've got the reluctant student and nobody there to push him. It should be some parental choice in here as to whether you go synchronous or asynchronous as well. We got to be a little flexible in this, but I'll let you.
No, and our schedules, Mr. Cowan and ladies and gentlemen on the community, includes both synchronous and asynchronous on a daily basis. The asynchronous is really just for attendance purposes. But no, we want that contact directly with the students live, and they'll have an opportunity every day to do that, whether it's for 30 minutes or 45. But yes,
And
Dr. Sacena.
real quick, this will help Mr. Cowan, the parent that works all day, and he knows that her son is at home, not in school. When she gets home, she can get him to get on there and make sure he does everything because it's recorded and he can do it asynchronous because you'll have the option of both. Am I correct? Go ahead, Dr. Sacena.
What I was going to add is that the Texas Education Agency, the asynchronous plan that we have to submit, you have to be able to put in a timeline of when those assignments are going to be submitted. In that plan that we're submitting, it does include, like Dr. Trevino mentioned, a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. The beauty of the asynchronous, it gives you the ability to be more creative with your plan versus synchronous where you're in front of a computer for 240 minutes. There's independent work, there's work done remotely, there's work done live. So there's all these combinations that we can do with our lessons. And like she mentioned, the schedules have a combination of both.
And again, it has timelines. The kids have to submit it, as I mentioned in the reopening plan, based on a certain time, they have to submit work. They have up until that midnight to submit some of those assignments for those kids that might work at night. It gives you that flexibility. And I know Dr. Cantu's team is working on the attendance rules of how we're going to code the attendance if a kid, for example, could not submit it by midnight. You know, what options do teachers have? So I know that they're working on that.
Yes, go ahead, Ms. Laura.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. I know we've gone back and forth. I know we've really capitalized on consistency. We want to be consistent, but flexibility is so important, especially I know we have so many teachers that have
What about the circumstance?
young children that they're also going to have to help their kids at home. They're so I just want to make sure that we're going to be flexible with those teachers as well, because obviously they're part of the BISD family in more than one way.
How?
That's correct. You're right.
Ms. Peña, go ahead, Dr. Tipton.
Thank you for the clarification. And the only reason I was asking those questions is because on the backup from that we got, there was a commitment there, and I didn't know what we were committing to. And it says, the superintendent and the board attest that these commitments are being met as of the date the attestation is submitted. So I just didn't know what we were committing to, because we had already seen that other plan that you all had presented, and I was just confused only because of the backup.
We don't.
But thank you for the clarification.
And no other questions? Are we ready to vote this time?
Yes, ma'am. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0 unanimous. Item 4, recommend the approval of the waiver to request for 40% campus hybrid instruction for grades 9 through 12.
Yes, do I have a motion?
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton.
Yes. Again, I just wanted clarification on the backup that's regarding the request for 40% campus hybrid instruction for 9th grade and the impact it has on our
So
district.
boring.
Okay, thank you for bringing up this item for discussion so that we can clarify. Yes, because Ms. Peña reminds me every day.
I'm getting hundreds of questions because it's a little confusing to your general layperson.
I know. Well, as everyone knows, we are going to start with distance learning, and that's our plan for the first 4 weeks. And then
4 weeks.
Hopefully we can continue until things are safe to bring our students. But when it's safe, and when that day comes that it's safe to bring our students, there is an allowable hybrid schedule that TA is allowing, and that's only for the high schools. And it's understandable. The high schools are the ones that have the most kids and multiple programs to be able to be flexible with the scheduling of our students. So this is what this item is about, that when that day comes that we can bring students, then we're allowed to have a hybrid schedule for the high school only. The elementary middle schools are not included in the hybrid schedule, and a hybrid schedule is alternating days during the week for students to come into school. And I'll have Dr. Trevino, Dr. Saceda give you more in depth about it, but basically that's what this is about, is to get board approval, because it does require board approval for us to proceed with a hybrid schedule when that day comes, bringing in students and into the high schools, and we can be able to work around a flexible scheduling of our students coming into schools from the 9th through 12th grade. But if anything else you want to add, you may.
I mean, I think that was a good summary, Dr. Gutierrez. The kids at the high school level would be able to come maybe twice a week, whether it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, those that need additional support. The principals at the high school have already kind of started establishing this schedule for students. So if and when, like Dr. Gutierrez said, that students are able to come face-to-face, then the high school principals are ready to serve the kids twice a week. And so that would reduce the number of students in our hallways in order to keep the social distancing.
Yes, thank you very much. Ms. Peña, I have one more.
Go ahead.
On the form, it says request to TA must be submitted no later than 2 weeks prior to the first day of on-campus instruction. So we'll approve today, we'll just hold on to it?
Correct. We're gonna have plenty of time to be able to work on this. Once we get it board approved, then we can work with those TA deadlines and we'll have the flexibility as to when we can submit.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I want to thank you for your patience. I know Dr. Gutierrez and I speak and he says, am I going to have to answer that question 100,000 times? And I said, in 2020 pandemic year, the answer is yes.
Shut up.
I thank
You
him.
asked
and
the
he
same
does,
question over and over
because
again, you idiot.
Thank you. You just said it right now, Dr. Trevino. If and when. And we constantly have to put if and when in the forefront because people are scared, they're panicking, and they forget that they heard if and when. So I thank you for your patience when they call. And we repeat the same thing again. So thank you for your empathy towards our community because this is very scary time for them. So thank you.
Shut up.
Please vote.
Stop by my office. 1240
Motion
East Madison.
passes 7-0 unanimous. Item 5, recommend approval to authorize the superintendent to submit to TEA a board-approved waiver request to extend up to 4 additional weeks the transition window to continue restricting access to on-campus instruction beyond the first 4 weeks of the 2020-2021 instructional calendar.
Motion to approve. Second.
Dr. Tipton?
Yes. Again, and Ms. Peña, I'm going to address
Yes,
Dr.
ma'am.
Gutierrez.
Go ahead.
And again, like Dr. Gutierrez said early on in this, as we watered through the COVID, none of us went to school to learn about pandemics. And so this is all new to us. And so this is just another item, another waiver from TA that, if you can just give us, shed some light on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well, as we are starting the school year on August the 25th, we have 4 weeks that we can go distance learning 100%. This is a waiver that we're asking for an additional 4 weeks to continue with the distance learning.
Maybe.
However, as of right now, as of today, this additional 4 weeks does include, as per TEA, per the Texas Education Agency, does include that we may have to open our campuses to allow students to come in if they don't have access to the internet or hotspots.
Told you.
So yes, we're going to get an additional 4 weeks by
maybe
approving this waiver. But as of today, we still are required. We will be required to open up our campuses to have face-to-face instruction in the event that the students want to show up. Again, this is we have the first 4 weeks where it's 100%. Those additional 4 weeks, we'll see maybe if it stays like it is or if it's going to change because we are a high area of positive cases of COVID-19. This area, the Brownsville area, Cameron County, South Texas, it's a hot spot. It's like there's so many cases flaring up that who knows, we may be allowed to continue those additional 4 weeks only with distance learning because our situation here is very critical with the number of positive cases that we have. But I'd like to put it out there to everyone as of today, even though the board approves it, we will be able to add those 4 weeks, but the possibility of opening up our campuses will be required for funding purposes.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Collins.
Dr. Gutierrez, one thing I think that will help, and that was what we did at the emergency board meeting, called a little earlier, and we approved the purchase of the hotspots and all that stuff. The more we can provide internet service to those who don't have it, the greater likelihood is that we can also remain remote. Because you have to have a connection with the children in order to be able to avoid having the kids come back to campus face to face.
That's correct.
Go ahead, Ms. Laura.
Thank you, Ms. Peña. Dr. Gutierrez, can you elaborate on what it is that I think that sometimes there's so many articles out there about what other districts are doing, potential lawsuits that maybe some districts are looking to file against TEA if they don't grant this additional, for example, 4 weeks or even a longer period than that. I think that most of us here, we wake up every day and we read the different articles and we see what others are doing. And sometimes I think that
you see my page.
Some people maybe just read the headlines and don't understand the consequences. So what would be the consequences? You said funding would be a consequence if we don't open our schools.
Right, that's correct. If we don't open our schools as they're requiring us to do that, they can affect us on our average daily attendance, what they call the ADA, how we get funded. But the good thing, and I say it's a good thing, that there's a lot of unity among school districts throughout the state that we're saying loud and clear that we may not be ready to open our schools even after those first 4 weeks. We probably won't be ready, and there's other districts throughout the state that are considering and uniting to file a lawsuit against the Texas Education Agency to stop the bringing in students. I know that the El Paso area, they're working on a possible lawsuit from what I've heard.
Exactly.
And the San Antonio area and some other districts are already moving in that direction to be able to, Dallas also, that moving in that direction to make sure that when we can bring our students is because it's safe to bring our students, and our area right now it's in dire need to keep our students safe, and the safest way that we can do that is through distance learning for our students and our staff. We're still very high in cases, and it's not slowing down. It's getting worse by the day, and so
stupid.
It's going to be interesting what's going to happen the next 4 or 5 weeks. I believe that there is going to be I believe that they may continue to allow us to stay 100% distance learning until the COVID-19 is under control.
You're so stupid.
But as a united board and as an administration and our community, we also need to voice our concerns to the Texas Education Agency, to the governor's office, in order for us to continue with distance learning as long as we need to go, so that we can keep everyone as safe as possible. There is a lot of conversations by different groups that this is not going to get any better until after Christmas. And it's probably, it could go all first semester and plan for distance learning throughout the whole first semester, which I believe, because of what I see here, and you all see the same, is that it's a very high possibility for all of South Texas to be distance learning throughout the whole first semester until it's better controlled and we can bring our students.
We've been saying that for months. You idiot.
Mr. Garcia?
Dr. Rodriguez, so if we have to open up,
Dr. Rodriguez?
I mean, Dr. Gutierrez, I'm sorry. If we have to open up the schools for face-to-face instruction, have we identified the teachers that are willing to come?
Yes, I think that Dr. Trevino has been working on that with the principals. You want to give us the latest on what we have on that, Dr. Trevino?
Rodriguez.
And the other thing too is, I'm pretty sure we're going to have quite a few students that are not going to come. So the question is, once we open up the schools, as long as we're offering that, we're going to be okay as far as funding is concerned, correct?
It's all about the
we're going to
funding,
continue
you
with the
idiot.
distance learning as well.
That's correct. You're correct. We just have to make our schools
Ay,
available
little
in the event that the kids want to come into the school. But distance learning continues at the same time. Correct.
One thing
I
want to
promise you, David.
When you say ADA, because I've heard people make comments out in public, I say they're not realizing what they're saying. When they turn around and say the district is only interested in getting the money, making the money. Ladies and gentlemen,
That's all you've been talking
without
about.
that money, we would have to do what they're doing in California. They're furloughing their teachers. So we are very conscientious about making
That's
sure
not why they're
that we
furloughing the
get all the
teachers, you
funds
idiot.
we need, so every employee will have
California is
will
a mess.
continue to have their livelihood and their paycheck. So I know people think, well, you only think about the money. No, ma'am. No, sir. We're thinking about keeping our employees employed so they can continue to fund their homes and continue to make a livelihood.
What about the children educated? Something like that? Is that a
So please
priority?
understand that. It's about keeping our employees employed and not having to furlough because someone cuts our funds. I'm sorry, Dr. Gutierrez, Ms. Trevino? Dr. Trevino?
She's such an idiot.
Dr. Trevino, I know that you've been working on that because we do need to know and start preparing the staff.
So the
Dr.
principals
Rodriguez.
have started surveying their staff. We have 75% of that information. So we asked them, the teachers, do you feel more comfortable working remotely? 100%. In your classroom with no one else in the classroom but the teacher and the resources? Or a combination of maybe a couple of days in the classroom, a couple of days at home? How would you feel comfortable? Of the 2,105 teachers that have responded, with the help of the principals. 1,544 would like to teach remotely, 100%. 165 teachers would like to be in the classrooms every day by themselves, with with your protective equipment. And 396, as of right now, would like to do a few days in the building, a few days at home. And so we still need about 600 teachers to respond. But right now, 75% of our teachers have responded, and those are the numbers.
So most want to teach from home.
And just one other thing is, we need to make sure that parents understand that this is not going to be a free period, or that no grades are going to be given. That this is going to be, they need to understand that this is going to be a grading period. Also, as far as technology is concerned, we need to make sure that we do have enough hotspots, because in many cases, there's more than one child that's going to be needing access at the same time. So we need to make sure we address that as well.
Yes, sir. We have about 4,000 hotspots, but the resolution that the board approved earlier, it gives us an additional 10,000. So we'll have about 14,000 hotspots. And if we look at a hotspot per family, we'll have multiple kids, in some households. So perhaps we're going to be able to cover at least more than half of the district with the hotspots. And then considering that perhaps the other half already has internet in itself. So we're going to be in good shape with those 14,000 hotspots. If we get one per family, plus the families that already have internet access, that would put us in a very good position to stay in distance learning as much as possible. Obviously, there's going to be some areas that we may not touch on, some families that they may want to come in, but we'll see how we have we're being
check your
prepared
email.
about having the protective equipment and being able to keep our staff and our students safe for those that can come in at that time.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Khan.
And I mean, sometimes, you hope for a blessing, and there's 10,000 additional hotspots are like manna from heaven. I mean, this is really going to make a difference. I mean, it does give us some flexibility.
Lady, stop sending friend requests.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Peña?
Yes.
I have a question. And I'm gonna go back to the number of teachers, and I'm not gonna speculate why they have not responded, the 600 or the 396 I want to go in a few days. I did get a few concerns that regarding the flex, we have all, I think, as a board, we've said, and administration, we need to be not only consistent, but we need to be flexible, right? And I just want to know, I know that, what about the list of the equipment that they could take? I know that we said that we're going to be flexible and they'll be able to take it home. But for example, there's a few teachers who are going in those few days just because they're not able to take their class projector that they use within their own classroom. Just want to know if that's part of the technology that they're able to take home.
Well, if it's something that if it's a device that they can take home that is portable, or they can, yes. But there may be some teachers that are going to have to, if they want to do certain things, they might have to do it out of the classroom simply because the setup is already there and they can take that equipment with them home. I believe that if they're going to be using, like a projector, usually those are mounted in the classroom. They're part of the classroom, so they would have to do those type of lessons out of the classroom. Of course, they can take a laptop, a Chromebook. Those devices, obviously, they can, but it would be the only way they can't is if it's not a portable equipment that they can take home.
It is the portable. It's not they're not the overhead projectors. So some of them had raised some concerns that's what, they were on the fence, and that's, yes.
If it's something they can take home, it's fine, safely, and they can transport it back and forth without any issues on that. I don't see a problem with that.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to appreciate everyone that's very conscientious.
Oh,
And let the
conscientious.
teachers that want to come and teach in the classroom come and teach. And those that just cannot, for whatever reason, they're not comfortable coming into the classroom and you let them teach from home. I thank you for that because all of us are mentally wired different. But we need all of us to be together and united to get our goals forward, which is educating our children to help them succeed. So I thank you for those options that you're giving all those teachers. I really appreciate you for that.
Shut up.
Vote, please vote. Motion passes 7-0 unanimous.
It's just talk.
Item 6, consideration and possible approval of an order authorizing the issuance of Brownsville Independent School District unlimited tax refunding bonds in one or more series as taxable and or tax exempt bonds, setting certain parameters of the bonds, authorizing a pricing officer to approve the amount, the interest, rate, price, including the terms thereof, and certain other procedures and provisions related thereto.
So moved.
Got a second? Ms. Laura, thank you. Dr. Tips?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Peña. My only question here is just on the fiscal implications. If we can just get a little bit clarification on the on that section of this item.
Thank you, Dr. Tipton and board members. We have Dr. Miguel de los Santos, who works for our financial advisors who are from Estrada Hinojosa, and he's going to present to us an option that we have as a school district to refinance some of our bonds. And of course, in refinancing is because we can take advantage of a lower interest rate, and in taking advantage of a lower interest rate than what we are currently paying, that means savings to the district and money back into the district. So with that, I'll leave it up to turn it over to Dr. Miguel de los Santos, who works with our financial advisors, Estrada Hinojosa. So Dr. de los Santos.
Thank you very much, President Peña, members of the board, Dr. Gutierrez. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Miguel de los Santos. I am with Estrada Hinojosa and Company. I would like to say that Mr. Hinojosa sends his hello, but his regret that he was not able to be with you this evening. I live in Edinburgh, so it's very easy for me to move back and forth anywhere in the valley. In response to your question, fiscal implications, I think when board members ask about fiscal implications, sometimes they're asking about, are we going to have access to money to spend? Maybe I'm wrong. Fiscal implications here, strictly on the INS side. Whatever savings you may realize from this refinancing are on the INS side. They are not on the maintenance and operations. So you're not able to use them for anything other than to pay other debt, to lower the tax rate. I don't think the savings are large enough here to lower the tax rate, or to maybe build your fund balance on the INS side a little bit. Those are kind of the options that you have. I don't know if I answered your question. If I didn't, I'll give it a shot.
Yes, thank you. And actually, my question was more to when we
that
see
wants to
fiscal
run against
implication
me.
is, the impact it's going to have on our general funds, especially right now in this pandemic. So that was the reason. For any reason of, will this be money for us to spend? So I just wanted to make that very clear. But I did see that we are going to have some savings, and yes, I do see that it was INS, but again, just wanted some clarification, on the fiscal implication. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that said, in other words, this is going to help us bring our debt down.
That's
because
correct.
that's what INS does. Where the M&O is the money we use to do projects. So to get our debt down is a very good thing. So thank you for that,
think
because
so?
that helps us get out of debt faster.
That is exactly what's going
And
to
that's
happen.
the objective, to always have your debt paid and have a good, clean, debt payment. So if you ever need to do it again, people are willing because they know how responsible you are as a district by paying off your debt.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Cowan.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll lower what we owe, but what we will lower is what we're having to pay the loans. And that's about, the way I figured, about $400,000 a year over about 7 years, something like that.
Guys, I
So
got
that,
5 more minutes of this and I'm done.
approximately, just dividing it equally.
It
I think our
is.
bond the amount we
someone
have
else
to
follow
pay
me.
in 5 or 6 years. It drops a little bit. I don't remember exactly when.
It's an average of about $400,000 a year.
But that's a lot,
$2.4 million.
But is it going to be limited? You have to leave.
Guys, that was horrible. I want that hour and 49 minutes of my life back. It was terrible. We got nothing. And teachers, goodness gracious, if you're going to be settling for crumbs, more power to you, really. But as much as they wanted to pat themselves in the back about the damn raise, it all was just blah, 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 blah. That's all it is, guys. I mean, wait a minute. That money came from Austin. The 5,000 that was cut at 3,000 last time, 2,000 this time. And again, that's already including your staff. Don't settle for crumbs. We'll be back at 9 o'clock with Joe Valdez and indigestion because of the pizza and Jack in the Box and cookies. Genaro Martinez. Guys, I'm done for right now. See you at 9 o'clock. God bless.